I poisoned my brother's coffee that night at Dad's birthday party, not with arsenic, but with the truth I'd buried for 15 years. The kind that dissolves trust like acid on rust. He smirked across the table, his Rolex glinting under the chandelier, and said it loud enough for the whole room to hear. Nora, you're only invited because you pay the damn bills around here. Laughter rippled from his cronies. Those Wall Street vultures he'd dragged in to impress Dad. But I saw the flicker in his eyes, the old fear. The one I'd fed with my silence back when we were kids scraping by in that Rust Belt trailer in Ohio. By midnight, as the ambulance wailed away with him clutching his chest, I'd already flipped the first card, anonymous tip to the IRS about the offshore accounts he'd stuffed with the money from the heist I took the fall for. It started, like all good American tragedies, with a lie wrapped in family loyalty. Dad's 65th was supposed to be a milestone, a chance to pretend we'd clawed our way out of the Milltown muck. Mom had fried up her famous pierogies, the kind stuffed with potato and cheese that tasted like regret and home all mixed up, and the backyard in our Jersey suburb was strung with Edison bulbs that cast everything in that warm, deceptive glow.
Dad,
Frail now from the chemo that didn't quite stick, sat at the head of the picnic table like a king on a thrift store throne, his flannel shirt hiding the scars from the factory accident that left him with one lung and a pension that barely covered the copays. I arrived early, as always, with a check for the caterer tucked in my purse, 20 grand for the smokehouse brisket and craft IPAs. Because God forbid we serve Bud Light at a celebration. I'm Nora, the fixer, the one who turned that community college associates in accounting into a corner office at Deloitte, crunching numbers for hedge funds that could buy our old neighborhood twice over. 42.
Single by choice.
With a closet full of power suits and a therapy bill that rivals my mortgage. My brother, Ethan, rolled in fashionably late in his Tesla, arm candy on one side, a blonde intern named Kaylee who looked like she'd stepped out of a casting call for Desperate Housewives, and a bottle of single malt scotch on the other. The kind that costs more than Dad's yearly meds. The party hummed along on autopilot, aunts gossiping about cousin Jenny's third divorce, uncles debating the Eagles' chances against the Cowboys, kids chasing fireflies in the dusk. I played my part, circulating with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, topping off Dad's ginger ale and slipping Mom an extra 50 for the florist. Ethan held court by the grill, regaling everyone with tales of his latest disruptive venture, some fintech app that promised to revolutionize microlending but mostly funneled cash to his poker buddies in Vegas. He was the golden boy, always had been quarterback in high school, fraternity prez at Penn State, now a self-made entrepreneur with a Tribeca loft and a Rolodex of venture capitalists who mistook his charm for genius. Then came the toast. Dad raised his plastic cup, voice raspy as sandpaper, to family. The ones who stick. No matter what. We clinked. And that's when Ethan leaned in, his breath hot with bourbon, and dropped the bomb. Here. Especially to Nora. Footing the bill, so we can all play pretend. The table went quiet, forks hovering midair. Mom's face crumpled like wet Kleenex. Dad's eyes darted to me with that apologetic squint he saves for when Ethan's ego overflows. Kaylee tittered nervously, and one of Ethan's Wall Street pals, some slick-haired prick named Vance, chuckled like it was insider humor. I felt it then, that old scar tissue tearing open. Not anger. Not yet, just the cold calculus of 15 years' worth of ledgers unbalanced. Funny, Ethan, I said, voice steady as a deposition. Coming from the guy whose empire would be foreclosed without my wire transfers. His smile faltered. Just a twitch. But I saw it. The room shifted, relatives exchanging glances like they were at a cockfight, betting on who'd draw first blood. That was the hook. The moment the party tipped from farce to fracture. But to understand why I didn't just laugh it off like every other slight, you have to go back to '09. The summer the Ohio River flooded and took half of Youngstown with it. Ethan and I were 25 and 23. Fresh out of our respective orbits, me grinding night shifts at the IRS call center, him chasing pipe dreams in Pittsburgh. Dad was already wheezing from the black lung. Mom stitching uniforms for minimum wage. We were broke. The kind of broke where you ration ramen and pray the eviction notice gets lost in the mail. Ethan had this idea: boost a payroll truck from the steel mill, the one Dad used to work before it shuttered. Victimless crime, he called it, eyes gleaming like he was pitching Shark Tank. The corpse insured.
Nora.
We're just evening the score.
I said no.
Screamed it. But he wore me down with that brotherly bullshit, the sob stories about Dad's oxygen tank, Mom's arthritis flaring from the damp basement. And damn if he didn't make it sound noble. Like Robin Hood in a Steelers jersey. The night it went down, rain hammering the windshield like God's own judgment, I was the lookout. Parked in a strip mall lot, heart pounding as Ethan and his dipshit buddy Marco jimmied the locks. Sirens wailed distant, then close too close. Marco panicked, fired a warning shot that ricocheted off the armored door and clipped the guard's shoulder. Not fatal, but enough blood to make headlines. Payroll heist turns violent in flood-ravaged town. They bolted, Ethan shoving the duffel of cash into my trunk before vanishing into the night. Cops swarmed. Found my car, plates traced from a traffic stop I'd gotten the week before. I could have ratted him out. Saved my ass. But I didn't. Lied through my teeth. It was me. Solo. Needed the money for family. Pleaded down to felony theft. 18 months in county. Probation that killed my security clearance dreams. Ethan? Slipped to New York. Used his cut to seed that first startup, a bogus app that flipped for 7 figures before the SEC sniffed around. I did the time, literal and figurative. Wrote letters from my cell bunk about turning over a new leaf, while Ethan sent postcards from the Hamptons. Signed, proud of you, sis. Mom cried at my sentencing. Dad stared at the floor like it had swallowed his son whole. And when I got out, paroled early for good behavior, I rebuilt. Night classes, entry-level gigs, clawing up the ladder until I could afford to bail them out of every scrape. Ethan's scrapes. Mostly bad investments. Alimony from his first wife. That DUI in the Hamptons that I lawyered away. 15 years of silence. Of me playing the saint while he played the savior. And for what? So he could lord it over me at Dad's birthday. In front of the family I'd kept afloat? As the party wound down, guests drifting to their Suburbans with Tupperware of leftovers, I cornered him by the garage. What the hell was that? I hissed. Close enough to smell his cologne, overpriced. Like everything else. He shrugged, lighting a cigarette despite the cancer in our bloodline. Truth hurts.
Nora.
You're the ATM. I'm the face. Dad gets it. His eyes narrowed. That old manipulative glint. Unless you're threatening to spill? After all I've done for you. I laughed. Bitter as black coffee. All you've done? Try all I've buried. But I didn't push it, not yet. Instead, I smiled, hugged him like the prodigal son he pretended to be, and whispered, "Happy birthday to Dad. And to you, sweet dreams." That night, alone in my Hoboken high-rise, skyline mocking me with its glittering indifference, I pulled the file. Not digital, old school manila, tucked in a safety deposit box since my release. Photos of the heist scene, grainy but damning. Ethan's tattoo peeking from Marco's cuff in the getaway footage. The serial numbers on the bills matching his first investment account. Affidavits I'd never filed. Witness statements from the guard who ID'd 2 perps. Not one. And the kicker, a letter from Marco, inked from Attica, swearing Ethan masterminded it all. Dated the week before his shank fight. I'd kept it all. Not out of hope, but hate, slow burning. Ledger-balanced hate.
Now,
With Ethan's slight echoing like a bad echo in my skull, it was time to audit the debt. First move, the coffee. Not literal poison, but a spiked USB drive, slipped into his jacket pocket during that hug. It held leaked docs, fudged, but forensic enough to ping the feds, shell companies laundering heist remnants through his fintech scam. I hit send on the anonymous drop to a buddy at the Journal, timing it for morning edition. By dawn, as I sipped my own espresso overlooking the Hudson, my phone buzzed. 911, Ethan, chest pains. I drove to the ER in silence, rehearsing my lines. The doctors murmured about stress-induced arrhythmia, but I saw the real culprit, the all-nighter he'd pulled, scrambling when the IRS voicemails hit. Vance and the vultures had scattered. Kaylee ghosted. Mom sobbed in the waiting room. Dad patted my hand. You okay? Kiddo. Better than ever, I said, and meant it. The flip had begun. But Ethan, pale in his gown, tube snaking like accusations, fixed me with a glare that promised war. This you, he wheezed. I leaned in, voice honey over gravel. Just balancing the books. Brother. You taught me how. He laughed, weak and wheezing. You think this ends it? I own you.
Nora.
Always have. That's when I knew this wasn't revenge. It was revolution. And the family? They'd choose sides soon enough. The hospital smelled like bleach and broken promises. The kind that cling to your clothes long after visiting hours. Ethan stabilized by noon, transferred to a private room overlooking the parking lot where I'd left my Audi like a getaway car. I sat by his bed, flipping through a dog-eared People magazine, playing The Dutiful Sister while nurses bustled and monitors beeped their indifferent rhythm. Mom had gone home to brew tea for Dad, whispering prayers in Polish that sounded like curses. He'll be fine, she'd said, squeezing my arm too hard. Family sticks, right?
Right.
Like glue on a ticking bomb. Ethan woke groggy, for drip fogging his edges, but his eyes sharpened on me like switchblades. You bitch, he muttered, voice raw from the intubation. That tip? Offshore bullshit? I know your fingerprints are all over it. I cross my legs, smoothing my skirt, the gray wool one that screams executive poise in boardrooms. Paranoia doesn't suit you, Ethan. Maybe lay off the Adderall. Truth was, the docs were clean. I'd routed them through a dark web proxy, layered with VPNs thicker than his alibis. But doubt is a sharper knife than facts. He shifted, wincing, the gown gaping to reveal the paunch he'd earned from steakhouse deals and spin-class hypocrisy. Dad's policy, the one you generously pay for? One word from me, and it's fraud. You think the big boys at Deloitte want a felon on payroll? The old threat, dusted off like a family heirloom. I'd heard it 100 times, the specter of my record. That scarlet letter from county jail, hovering over every promotion. But here's the American dream for you. Pull yourself up by bootstraps woven from lies. and pray the seams hold. Go ahead, I said, meeting his gaze without flinching. Sing to the feds. Tell em how your little sister did time for your felony joyride. How she wired you clean money to wash the dirty. Be the hero.
Ethan.
See how that plays at Thanksgiving. His jaw tightened, that telltale vein pulsing in his temple, the same one that throbbed when Dad caught him stealing from the cookie jar at 8. Ethan was a chameleon. Always had been. Sweet-talking teachers out of FS. Charming exes into NDAs. Flipping from ally to adversary faster than a hedge fund shorts a stock. Back in Youngstown, he'd cry on my shoulder after bullies roughed him up, then sell me out to join them the next day. Survival of the slickest, he'd grin, pocketing my lunch money. But the heist? That was the pivot, the original sin that bent us both. I confessed to protect him, not out of love, but leverage. In my addled post-arrest brain, whispering to the PD lawyer, I'd imagined it as a chip. Someday, he'd owe me. Big. Instead, he spent it on freedom, leaving me to rot and rebuild.
Now,
with the IRS circling his Cayman nests like sharks to chum, he tried the flip again. Look, Nora. Truce? I overplayed at the party. Stress. You know? The app's going public next quarter, millions. We split it. Square things with Mom and Dad. Beach house in the Keys. The works. The siren song, luring me back to the web. I almost bought it once. After my release, when he loaned me seed money for my first condo, only to call it in at double interest when I hit 6 figures. But I'd learned the math. Ethan's deals always compound in his favor. Square things, I echoed, standing to pour him water from the pitcher, my hand steady as I held the cup to his lips. Like how you squared the guard's medical bills, or Marco's appeals fund, before he shanked that guy over a bad debt. His eyes widened, genuine shock, the kind that cracks the mask. Marco had been the loose end, the junkie sidekick who'd flipped for a plea but died in the yard before testifying. Ethan swore it was bad luck. I'd always suspected a donation to the right guards. You kept tabs, he said. Not a question. Ledgers don't lie, brother. Unlike people. I set the cup down, the plastic clinking like a gavel. Rest up. We've got a family meeting tomorrow. Dad's orders. Neutral ground, the old diner on Route 9. He nodded. Wary. But I saw the wheels turning, plotting his counter. Some silver-tongued pivot to paint me the villain. As I left, brushing past a candy striper with a bouquet from Vance, condolences or cover your ass, I felt the tension coil tighter. A spring in a .45. The diner was pure nostalgia porn. Chrome stools. Vinyl booths cracked like elephant hide. Air thick with grease and grief. Mom and Dad arrived first. Her in a cardigan frayed at the cuffs. Him leaning on a walker that clicked like a metronome. They slid into the booth. Menus unopened, habit from leaner days when coffee was a luxury. Nora. Honey, Mom started, her accent thickening with nerves.
Ethan. He called.
Said things got heated. But family's family. Dad grunted, fiddling with his oxygen cannula. Boys always had a mouth.
Like his old man.
A rare self-jab, laced with the bitterness of a lifetime sidelined by strikes and shutdowns. I slid in opposite, ordering the works. Eggs over easy, hash browns crisp, black coffee strong enough to strip paint. Comfort food for the coming storm. It's more than words.
Dad.
It's the lies we've all swallowed. They exchanged glances. The kind honed over decades of pretending Ethan's screw-ups were phases. Then the door jangled. And there he was, Ethan, discharged against Doc's advice. In chinos and a polo that screamed Casual Friday, Kaylee trailing like a reluctant shadow. He air-kissed Mom, clapped Dad's shoulder too hard, and dropped into the booth with a grin that didn't touch his eyes. Family therapy at the Waffle House, classy. Nora. He flagged the waitress, ordering the fruit plate like he was at Le Bernardin. Kaylee picked at her nails, silent as a trophy. We danced around it at first. Dad's latest scan, clear? Hallelujah. Mom's garden, wilting from the drought. Ethan's episode, just indigestion. Docs say. Then I laid it out. Voice low over the sizzle of the grill. 15 years ago. Ethan, I confess to your crime. The heist. The shot. All of it. The booth went tomb silent. Mom's fork clattered. Dad's face drained to ash. Kaylee's eyes bugged like she'd walked into a Tarantino set. Ethan's mask slipped, then snapped back. Jesus. Nora, what the fuck? You trying to rewrite history now? I was in Pittsburgh that night. Alibi to hell. Liar, I said, sliding a printout across the Formica, the grainy still from the Mills CCTV. Ethan's profile unmistakable. Timestamped 2:17 a.m. I digitized it last week. Enhanced with freeware from a Redditor PI forum. Dad snatched it, squinting through bifocals.
This
is you, son. His voice cracked, the lum whistling like a tea kettle. Ethan's charm curdled. Dad. It's bullshit. Nora's unhinged. Jail did a number on her. She's been holding grudges, sabotaging my deals. He turned to me, venom sweet. Remember the plea? You begged me to lie for you. Say, you were innocent. I did. And this is thanks. Gaslighting. Vintage Ethan. Mom whimpered. Kids. Please. Kaylee excused herself to the ladies, phone in hand, probably texting her exit strategy. I leaned forward, voice steel. The guard's name was Harlan Brooks.
Dad.
Paralyzed from the waist down. Wife left him. Kids in foster care. I visited him once. After parole. Sent checks anonymously till he passed in 18. Ethan? He laughed about it over beers. Called it collateral. Dad's eyes welled. The betrayal sinking like lead. Why,
boy,
we raised you better. Ethan's flip was masterful, from defender to penitent in a heartbeat. I was scared. Dad. Young. Stupid.
Nora.
She pushed me into it. Said we'd split the take. Help the family.
Lies.
Layered thick. But his voice trembled just right, Oscar bait. Mom bought it. Hand on his.
Oh.
Ethan. But Dad? He stared at the photo. Then at me. The weight of dual confessions crushing him. I could have ended it there, called the cops from the payphone, watched them cuff him over pie. But revenge isn't a sprint. It's a marathon of mirrors, forcing the mark to see their reflection shatter. Instead, I flipped the script. He's right. Dad. I was complicit. We both were. But I've paid time, tears, everything. He built an empire on my silence. The check came, I paid. As always. As we filed out, Ethan cornered me by the Impala. You win this round,
sis.
But touch my IPO.
And I bury you.
For real. Try it, I whispered. I've got nothing left to lose. That night, back in Hoboken, I poured a scotch, his brand, pilfered from the party, and toasted the skyline. The journal piece dropped online. Fintech darlings accounts under scrutiny, IRS probe looms. Shares tanked 15% pre-market. Ethan's phone would be blowing up, vultures circling. But the real flip? A text from an unknown number. Harlan's widow? Call me.
M.
Brooks. Marco's sister? The web tightened. The call came at 3 a.m., the witching hour when Jersey traffic hums like a distant hive and regrets crawl out of the woodwork. I fumbled for the phone. Screen glowing like a guilty secret. Unknown, Youngstown. My mouth went dry, tasting of last night's scotch and the diner's burnt coffee. Nora Kowalski? Yeah, I rasped, sitting up in sheets tangled like accusations. Marla Brooks. Harlan's wife. Or ex, I guess. Her voice was gravel over glass, edged with that rust belt twang that never quite polishes out. Marco reached out before. You know.
Said you'd call someday.
About Ethan. Marco, dead 5 years. But his ghost had impeccable timing. I swung my legs over the bed, padding to the window where the city lights mocked my isolation. What do you need, Marla?
Justice.
Or money? Same diff. A pause. Filled with the clink of ice in a tumbler, bourbon. Probably. The widow's sacrament. Harlan rotted in that chair. Nora. VA wouldn't cover shit. Insurance ghosted us. I waited tables till my hips gave out. Ethan's app uses Harlan's story in the pitch deck, empowering the underserved. My ass. Laundered blood money. I closed my eyes, picturing her, 50s, maybe, lines etched deep as the Mahoning River scars, nursing a grudge in a double-wide somewhere off I-80. I know. I sent what I could. Peanuts. But Marco's letter, you got it? Swears Ethan pulled the trigger. Not some ricochet bullshit. Her laugh was bitter. Barking. Wants you to finish what he started. For Harlan. For all of us. The letter. Yeah. I'd read it 100 times. Folded in that manila tomb. Marco's scrawl. Doped on methadone. Confessing Ethan's panic shot. The accidental wound that severed Harlan's spine. Ethan had paid him off post-heist, $20K to vanish, but prison loyalty's a funny thing. Marco held out till the end. I'll handle it, I said, the words tasting like vow or venom. Ethan's crumbling. Give me your number, updates only. She recited it. Then, don't fuck this up.
Kowalski.
We're all that's left of the wronged.
Click.
I stared at the phone. The call log a fresh scar. Dawn crept in, gray as Dad's x-rays. And I dressed for war. Pencil skirt, blouse crisp as a subpoena, heels that clicked like countdowns. Deloitte awaited, oblivious to my moonlight vendetta, spreadsheets by day, scorched earth by night. The office was a glass cathedral to capitalism. Hudson View's framing traders yelling into headsets like auctioneers at a slave sale. My cubicle, partner track. Thank you, hummed with emails. Q4 audits. Client lunches. The banal machinery that kept my cover intact. But focus fractured. Every ping echoed Ethan's threats. Marla's plea. By lunch, the flip accelerated. Vance called. Ethan's Wall Street whisper. Voice slick as pomade. Nora. Darling. Heard about the probe. Ethan's. Indisposed. Need a forensic accountant? Discreet. I sipped my kale smoothie, the green bitterness mirroring my mood. What's the rate? Standard. Plus equity in the cleanup.
A beat.
Heard whispers about your past. Flexible. Off books. The hook. Baited with my felony shadow. I reeled slow. Send the files. NDA first. By end of day. My inbox bloated with Ethan skeletons, PDFs of wire transfers from heist accounts to Cayman trusts, emails plotting insider trades on his IPO. Vance thought he was poaching me as an ally. I was mining dynamite. Home that evening, I met Riley, my one soft spot. The pro bono client turned confidant.
28.
Trans non-binary. Fresh from juvie on a bullshit shoplift wrapped in identity bias. I'd mentored her through expungement. Now she crashed my couch between barista shifts and community college. You look like hell. Nora, they said, microwaving ramen in my kitchenette. Ethan again? Worse. I poured wine, cheap red, but it burned true. Over lo mein from the Thai place down the block. I spilled. The heist truth. The party slight. Marla's call. Riley listened. Eyes sharp behind thrift store glasses. No judgment, just that millennial clarity that cuts through boomer bullshit. Sounds like a Greek tragedy, but with more tax evasion. They twirled noodles. Thoughtful. You sure about this revenge arc? Cops. Feds boom.
Done.
Why the slow burn? Because it's not just punishment, I said, staring at the wine swirl like blood in water. It's excision. Cut him out without killing the host. Family's the host. Riley nodded. Wise beyond scars. Polarization.
Ha. Making shores. Risky.
But if anyone's wired for it, they raise their glass. To flipping the script, sleep came fitful. Dreams of the heist replaying in sepia, rain-slicked asphalt, Ethan's silhouette vanishing with the bag, my hands cuffed cold in the cruiser's back seat. Woke to texts, Mom. Diner fallout bad. Dad won't eat.
Come.
Ethan, truce my ass. You're dead. And Vance, file sent.
Dinner?
Discuss. I chose Mom. Driving the turnpike with NPR droning about election scandals, another American circus of flips and feints. The house sagged under Jersey clay. Azaleas, wilting like Dad's hopes. He was in the recliner. Oxygen hissing. Remote clutched like a lifeline to Fox News reruns. Nora girl, he wheezed, patting the ottoman. Mom hovered. Plate of kielbasa untouched. We talked circles. Ethan's wild youth, my overreaction, the family fabric fraying like cheap broadcloth. He's your brother, Mom pleaded, eyes red-rimmed. Blood. Blood's thicker than water, I countered. But it spills easy. Dad's gaze held mine. Searching, father to felon. Survivor to avenger.
Truth. Kiddo.
Whole truth. His hand trembled on the hose. I knew. Suspected. After you did time, Ethan confessed bits. Drunk. One Christmas. Said you saved him. The admission hung. Heavy as holiday fruitcake. I'd suspected, boozy whispers. Averted eyes, but hearing it cracked something in me. Not forgiveness, resolve. And you let me carry it alone? Shame, Dad muttered. Mill took my pride. Cancer my fight. Thought it'd fade. It didn't. I hugged them fierce, promising normalcy, then slipped out to the porch swing where fireflies danced like false hopes. Dialed Marla. Intel incoming. Stay dark. Her reply. Good. Harlan's graves dug deep. Ethan's next. Back in the city. Vance's dinner was at Del Frisco's, steakhouse cathedral to excess, where deals are sealed in ribeye juices. He waited at a corner booth. Suit Armani sharp. Menu open to the dry-aged fillets.
Nora.
You look ravishing. Like a woman with secrets. Most are, I said.
Sliding in.
Wine poured, cab from Napa. Pretentious as his grin. Over appetizers, oysters. Slippery as lies, he probed. Ethan's exposures. My flexibility. I played coy. Forking lobster bisque. Depends. What's the play? Salvage the IPO. Or torch it. His eyes gleamed. Trader's thrill. SEC sniffing. IRS bites soon. Ethan's a liability. Cut him loose. We pivot to a white knight bidder. You consult. I front the fee. Off books. Natch. The flip revealed. Vance. Not loyalist, but opportunist smelling blood. Offering alliance laced with poison. And my history burned clean. NDAs are my love language. He clinked glasses. Partners? I smiled, signing the mental contract. Partners. That night. Files decrypted in my lair, laptop glow casting shadows like informants. Ethan's empire, a house of cards built on heist bricks, laundered through apps promising financial inclusion to folks like Harlan's ghost. I forwarded select docs to Vance, enough to gut Ethan. Hold back the kill shots for leverage. Then the counterpunch. Ethan's email. CC to family. Subject, Nora's lies expose. Attachments, forged bank statements proving I'd embezzled from Deloitte to fund personal vendettas, my mugshot from '09 photoshopped onto recent surveillance. Sis is cracked, it read. Jealousy turned toxic. Protect Dad, cut ties. Mom called sobbing. Is it true? Dad's silent. Riley texted, damage control? I didn't deny, I amplified. Anonymous post to Ethan's investor LinkedIn group. Kowalski FinTech. Roots in peril theft? Check the math. Links to redacted heist reports. Chaos erupted. Shares plunged 30%. Vultures fled. Ethan's response, a voicemail. Unhinged. You fucking cunt. I'll ruin you. Family first, always was. But family? They'd splintered. Mom sided with blood. Dad with truth. Kaylee bailed publicly. Instagram story. Toxicity ends here self-care. And Marla. Nice. Now the big one. The polarization peaked at the next summit. Ethan's loft. Tribeca cool with exposed brick and Eames knockoffs. He buzzed me up. Door ajar like a trap. Inside. Wreckage. Shattered scotch bottle. Laptop smashed. Him pacing in boxers and rage. You happy? He snarled. Gesturing at the screens. CNBC ticker bleeding red. My life's ash because of you. Your life. I laughed. Stepping over glass shards. Mine started in a cell.
Ethan.
Yours? A lie I bought. He lunged, not violent, but desperate, grabbing my arms. We were kids. Dad's drunk rages. Mom's breakdowns. I did it for us. The flip. Raw. Victim now. Pleading. Up close. I saw the cracks. Coke-ravaged nose. Eyes hollow as Dad's post-chemo.
Bullshit.
You did it for you. And I cleaned up. He released me, slumping to the couch. What now? Feds? Prison? For a mistake. Mistake. The word hung. I could have called it even walked. Let Vance carve the corpse. But Marla's voice echoed, Harlan's chair wheels squeaking in my skull. Confess, I said.
Full. To Dad.
Mom. The journal. I'll back your play. Reduce sentence. Maybe. His laugh was hollow.
And you?
Saint Nora? Survivor. I tossed a recorder on the coffee table, running, capturing every syllable. Tick-tock. He stared, then nodded, slow.
Scheming. Deal.
But one condition. You drop the poison. We're square. Square. The word tasted like surrender. I agreed, pocketing the device. As I left, his parting shot. Family sticks.
Nora.
Even when it stabs. Outside. Rain slicked the streets, cabs honking like accusatory horns. I hailed one. Heart pounding, not triumph, but the sick thrill of the brink. The climax loomed, the confession, the fall. But twists? They lurk in the ledgers. The confession was set for neutral ground again, the old steel mill overlook off the Ohio Turnpike, where the river snaked like a guilty vein through the rusting carcass of our youth. I'd flown in that morning, red-eye from Newark, neck crick from economy despite my miles. Mom and Dad waited in a rented Chevy, parked crooked on the gravel pullout, the mill's skeletal towers looming like God's abandoned cathedral. Ethan pulled up in a rental Mustang, flashy, but the dented fender screamed his unraveling. We gathered by the chain-link fence, wind whipping off the water with a chill that bit deeper than November. Mom clutched her rosary, beads clicking like worried teeth. Dad leaned on his cane, oxygen tank rumbling faint as distant thunder. Ethan and I stood apart, bookends to betrayal, the air thick with the metallic tang of decay. Let's get this over with, Ethan started, voice pitched for performance, remorseful baritone, eyes downcast. He'd rehearsed in the mirror. I could tell. The loft tape proved he was a method actor when cornered. Dad.
Mom.
Nora's right. The heist?
Mine.
I panicked, shot wild. She covered, took the fall. God. I'm sorry. The words landed soft, then shattered. Mom gasped, crossing herself. Dad's face crumpled, a dam breaking after decades dry. My boy, he rasped, reaching out. But Ethan flinched, instinct, or calculation. I watched, recorder hidden in my coat pocket, capturing the raw audio for Vance, for Marla, for the ledger. Details.
Ethan.
The money trail. Harlan.
He swallowed.
Adam's apple bobbing like a noose. Wired it through dummies. First app was a front.
Harlan.
Accident. I sent anonymous help. Through Nora.
A lie.
Slick as ever. Shifting blame back my way. Dad's eyes narrowed. You let her rot? For what greed? Survival. Ethan snapped. Mask cracking. You think I wanted this? The mill closed. Bills piling. Nora was the smart one. The fighter. I was the fuck-up. The flip again. From villain to victim. Painting me the enabler. Mom bought it. Tears flowing. Both my babies. Hurting. But Dad? He turned to me. Voice steel despite the wheeze. You too? Nora. Why the silence? Polarization pure. His sin. My complicity. Their shared guilt. I could have unloaded. The visits to Harlan. The therapy for PTSD I never claimed. The promotions lost to background checks. Instead, love. Twisted kind. But it's cost us all. We hugged then, awkward as a crime scene cleanup, arms stiff. Scents mingling, Ethan's cologne, Mom's lavender, Dad's Benghazi. Promises exchanged, therapy, restitution. A family reset. Ethan met my eyes over Mom's shoulder. Triumph? Warning? The tape rolled on. Back in Jersey. The drop to Vance, audio file. Time-stamped. With a note. Confession gold. Pivot now. His reply. Genius. IPO salvage at 60% valuation. You're cut wired. Money hit my account clean. Fat. Enough to fund Marla's hip replacement and Dad's experimental trial. But Ethan? He lawyered up overnight, spinning the confession as coerced drama in a joint family statement to the press. Healing from past mistakes. It read, buried on page B12 of the Star Ledger. No charges, his connections greased the wheels. My tape deemed inadmissible sibling spat. Rage boiled fresh. But I played long game. Called Marla. He's slippery. But the wire trails live, follow it. Her laugh. Darker now. Already on it. Harlan's estate sues next week. Civil. But it'll bleed him. Riley noticed the shift when I got home. Sprawled on my couch with case law printouts. You're glowing, but not happy. What's the endgame? Balance, I said. Cracking a beer, PBR. Democratic poison. He falls, but not without cost. Nobody wins clean. The cost came swift. Ethan's IPO cratered for real. Underwriters bailing after the confession leak, my anonymous nudge to Bloomberg. He called, slurring. You leaked it? After the deal? Self-defense. I lied. You flipped first. Fuck you.
Nora.
Dad's dying, your fault. Stress.
Click.
Guilt gnawed. Sharp as hunger. I drove to the house unannounced, finding Dad in the den. TV murmuring infomercials. Nora. He patted the lazy boy arm. Boy's spiraling. Blames you. He blames everyone. I sat, taking his hand, callous still from phantom tools. The trial money's coming. From consulting. His eyes searched, weary. This revenge. Worth it? We're Kowalski's stubborn. But we bend. Bend. Not break. The American way. Duct tape families till the glue gives. Maybe not, I admitted. But Harlan never bent. Died broke. Dad nodded.
Slow.
Make it right. For all. The climax brewed that weekend. Ethan's intervention. Emailed invite to his loft. Family summit. No games. Riley warned. Trap. But I went. Wired with a pendant cam from a PI app. Riley monitoring remote. The loft reeked of desperation. Pizza boxes. Empty fifths. Kaylee's ghost in discarded Louboutins. Ethan waited. Suited but rumpled. Vance at his side like a hyena in Hermes.
Nora.
Meet the team. Team? Vance smirked, pouring Glenfiddich. Your cut's cleared. But Ethan's countersuit. Defamation. Emotional distress. Against you. The flip. Double-barreled. Alliance shattered. My partner, now prosecutor. You played me, I said. Steady. Business, Vance shrugged. Ethan's narrative. Jealous sis sabotages golden boy. Jury loves that, especially with your record. Ethan leaned in. Eyes manic. Drop it all.
Nora.
Tape. Tips. Marla. Or we bury you Deloitte first. Then the bar. Felons back in the news. Polarization incarnate. Him the prodigal.
Me the pariah.
Mom and Dad looped in via Zoom on his laptop. Faces pale pixels. Nora.
Please. Peace.
I laughed.
Cold.
Peace? After Harlan? The river of lies. The cam caught it all, his twitch. Vance's smirk. Parents, please. Then the twist door cracked. My phone buzzed. Riley. Incoming. Marla's suit filed.
Public.
With your deposition. I smiled.
Slow.
Too late.
Boys.
It's public now. The story broke Monday. Fintech heirs dark past. Heist confession. Victim's widow sues. My name redacted. But Ethan's front page. Shares vaporized. Vance bolted, his own probe pending. Ethan raged via text. You'll pay. But the real storm hit home. Dad's heart attack. Tuesday dawn. Mom's call. He's gone.
Nora.
Asking for you. Then nothing.
Gone.
The bend broke. I raced to the hospital. Corridors blurring. Only to find the bed empty. Sheets crisp as lies. Mom in the hall.
Hello, Ethan. He came.
Argued. Dad clutched his chest. Said, truth kills slower than cancer. Ethan's final flip. Confrontation. Fatal. Not fists. But words. Poison-eyed brood. Spilled back. Guilt crashed. Title. My Revenge. The catalyst. Funeral was Methodist, right? Rain lashing the tent like judgment. Ethan spoke first. Eulogy polished. Dad taught forgiveness.
Nora and I
will honor that. His hand on my shoulder, consoling. Or claiming victory. I stood. Voice steady amid sobs. Dad knew the ledgers. Balanced in heaven now. No accusations yet. Graveside. Marla appeared. Unexpected. Black dress. Eyes steel. Suits on hold. For him. She nodded at the casket. But Ethan's not done.
Neither was I.
Back in the city. Riley hugged me. Bye, kid? Tragic or cathartic? Both. I poured scotch. Toasting the void. The flip's not over. Widowhood suits Mom like a hair shirt, loose, ill-fitting, frayed at the edges. She sold the Jersey house 2 months post-Dad, pocketing pennies for a condo in Youngstown near her sister's, leaving me the executrix of echoes, sorting his toolshed relics, shredding medical bills stamped, paid in full with my blood money. Ethan hovered. The dutiful son now. Wiring support from his fire sale assets, pennies on the dollar after the crash. For Mom, he'd text. CCNG his lawyer. Subtext. Keep quiet. Or it stops. I didn't. The slow burn reignited in quiet ways, forwarding Marla's amended suit docs. Her lawyer's hungry for the tape I'd finally released, admissible now. With Dad's death as the changed circumstance, Ethan's countersuit fizzled. Vance flipped state's evidence for immunity, singing about the laundering ring like a canary in a coal mine. SEC froze assets. FBI knocked polite but firm. He lawyered harder, pivoting to rehab narrative, tell-all book deal in talks. From heist to hedge, a redemption arc. Redemption. The word curdled my coffee each morning, black as the river that swallowed our sins. Deloitte put me on leave. Personal matters, code for felon in the spotlight. Riley moved out, subletting to chase a fellowship in Chicago. Heal.
Nora.
Or don't. But call. Their hug lingered. A lifeline snapped. Alone. The loft, his loft. Foreclosed, but mine via Vance's panicked equity swap, became my war room. Exposed brick absorbed the city's roar. But not the ghosts. Dad's wheeze in the vents. Harlan's wheels on hardwood. I paced nights. Ledger open on the island. Debits, Ethan's freedom. Dad's stress death. Credits, Marla's settlement pending. My consulting nest egg. The call came spring thaw. Lilacs mocking through the fire escape. Unknown. Pittsburgh area. Nora Kowalski? Agent Reyes. FBI white collar. My pulse spiked. But voice even. What can I do for you? Interview. Ethan's cooperation. Full confession. In exchange for your input. A pause. Papers rustling. He named you co-conspirator. But off record? Says you were the brains. The ultimate flip, Ethan. Cornered. Casting me as kingpin to lighten his load. Laughter bubbled. Hysterical. When? Tomorrow. Field office. Newark. Bring counsel.
I didn't.
Walked in solo. Pantsuit armor. Recorder in purse for irony. Reyes was compact. Latina. Eyes like audit stamps, impartial.
Piercing.
Conference room sterile. Fluorescence buzzing. Coffee vending stale. Ethan waited cuffed to the table. Jumpsuit orange as betrayal. But his grin? Pure golden boy.
Sis.
He nodded. Casual as diner chat. Told him the truth. You planned it, look out. Getaway. The works. I was along for the ride. Reyes slid folders. My old plea docs. Enhanced CCTV with new overlays tagging my profile. Forged? Maybe. But in this theater, perception prosecutes. Your play, I said, sitting tall. But the tape loft. Mill overlook says different. And Marco's letter. Harlan's widow. Ethan leaned. Chains rattling.
Coerced.
You threatened family. Dad's death? Your stress pushed him over. The lie landed like a gut punch, Dad. My anchor. Weaponized. Reyes watched. Neutral. MS. Kowalski? Your statement. I could have lawyered out. Walked free on technicals, statute long run. Evidence thin. But the polarization peaked here. Table as fault line, his word against mine. Family as collateral. Nobody right. All wrong, me for silence. Him for sin. Feds for feeding the machine. Truth, I said. Voice steady. I covered. Took the fall. But the shot? His. The money? His empire. I fixed bills. Alibis. Silence. For family, I slid my own folder. Unredacted wires. Vance's depot. Marla's affidavit. Prosecute us both. Or neither. But don't let him skate on my back again. Reyes' eyebrow arched. Respect. Maybe. Bold. We'll review. Ethan's mask shattered. You bitch. After everything. Everything. I stood. Looming. You flipped us all. Dad died, hearing your venom. He lunged. Chain snapping taut. Reyes intervened, cuffing him silent. As they led him out, his parting glare promised hell, but hollow now. A cornered wolf swine. I left uncharged. Air crisp with May. Walking the harbor path where gulls screamed like unpaid debts. Phone buzzed, Mom. Ethan arrested. Full story? Praying. Marla, suit wins default. Harlan smiles. Riley heard. Proud? Call. Proud? The word dissolved. Back at the loft, I poured scotch, last bottle. His vintage, and raised to the skyline, lights winking like conspirators. The twist landed soft, a letter, forwarded from the Milltown P.O. box. Ethan's handwriting. Jail fresh. Nora, you win. But Dad? We both killed him. Slow poison. Family style. Forgive?
Nah.
But square, your silence bought my start. Mine ends it. Burn this.
E. Square.
The ledger balanced.
Ink dry.
I burned it in the sink. Flames dancing blue. Ashes swirling down the drain like river silt. Months blurred. Mom visited. Tentative, Polish supper. Tears over pierogies. No mentions of trials. Heal, she echoed wryly. I nodded, but the scar tissue itched. Ethan plead out, 10 to 15. Minimum security, golf courses and group therapy. The white-collar spa. Marla got $2 million. Funding a foundation. Victims' wheels. Mobility aids for the shot down. I consulted freelance. Numbers for nonprofits now. Penance in spreadsheets. The end? Debatable. Happy, Ethan caged. Secrets aired. Family fragments mending. Tragic. Dad's grave cold. My hands forever stained. Trust a casualty of the heist. Polarizing. Was I avenger or accomplice? Hero or the real villain? Flipping lives for a balanced book? Last spring, I stood at the overlook, alone. Wind same as that confession day. River churned, mills rusting eternal. Phone silent, ledger closed. I flipped a coin into the current, heads for peace, tails for war. It spun, vanished.
Square.
Either way. But in America, the game's never over, just reloaded.